My name's Raymond Thomson. I'm a musician and a music photographer.
Hello, Raymond, thanks for joining us here at Sound Magic Studios. Thanks for taking part in my project, the music behind the lens.
Thanks for inviting me, Martin.
You know, it's my pleasure, honestly. I've given you a number of questions to look over, and I've also asked you to pick 5 images with stories behind them. So, from the beginnings of photography and music, tell me about it.
Probably started with music to begin with. Grew up with my grandparents. My uncle lived with me. He liked a bit of music, a bit of Black Sabbath, things like that. And then when the glam rock came in, I liked a bit of T-Rex and Bowie and stuff like that. And then Top the Pops. And then I thought to myself, I need to get to some gigs. As soon as I started going to gigs, I realised I wanted to capture the spirit and the essence of that gig. So got myself a little Kodak 110 camera, put it in my pocket, off to a few gigs, and started shooting when and where I could, ranging from the Clash, UK subs, the Skids, early days like that, maybe the Fall, Cocteau Twins, just any gigs I was at, I would pull out the little camera. You could sneak it into gigs back then because you know, you couldn't get any other form of camera into a gig at the time. So that's where it started for me.
All right, so quite a lot of mixture of genres of music there as well. What kind of gear is it that you're using at the moment?
I'm not a gear junkie, although I am. I've got a selection here that I use at gigs. My main camera is a Canon 5D Mark IV, right, and that's because of the low lights that I work in. A lot of the clubs and venues I go to are extremely dark. So I needed something that was going to work, and I already had a load of Canon glass, so to jump to the 5D Mark IV was the camera for me. Like I say, I'm not a camera snob. Could be Canon, could be Nikon. Yeah. I'm really not fussed. And next to the Canon is a small Panasonic compact that I've got in my pocket for shooting any gigs that you can't get a camera into. So
there's a lot of gear there. Obviously, you chatted about how you started in photography, music, and etc. But could you tell me the kind of first cameras that you picked up or what you used?
The first real camera I bought was in 1979 from the K's Clubby book. It was a Zenith E Russian camera, and back in those days there was no auto on these cameras. You had to know how to get a camera to work, so it was manual right from the beginning. So I didn't know what all these numbers were, f5.6, f11, didn't have a clue. Got a book out the local John Menzies or something like that, and just started there, and then went to local places, parks and stuff like that, and then played around with railings, and then I could see what the aperture, how that would change. And then I took pictures of cars driving past in the street, and then I could see how the shutter speed affected it. So right from the beginning, I had to understand how a camera would work. But the ironic thing was, I could never take that camera into any venues, so I have no pictures from music venues back then using the Zenith. I did use it for motocross, which is my other photographic passion.
We'll touch on that as well. Obviously, the whole idea behind it as well is you as a photographer. We've got all different things we do with photography, and like yourself, that's a way back in the day when I think that's how I think most people would have started, and I have started as well. Just playing around and being self-taught. Did you get any kind of go for any training or whatever?
Nothing, zero training. Even to this day, if I need to find something out, I'll hit YouTube. Or my wife has actually done 3 online courses with the Shaw Academy. All right. So she's done HND level So if I need to know something, I just ask my wife, to be honest. It's RTFM.
All right, yeah. Obviously, you've got a guitar there as well, and you are a musician. Has that helped you in any way?
I would say music and photography somehow do run hand in hand.
Yeah.
Music has the power to take you to a place in your past, to a memory. And I think looking at a picture as well does the same thing. Although if you look at a picture, it doesn't bring so much emotion without music. If you see a Hollywood cinema and there's an emotive piece, they always back it up with the music. So I think a carefully taken picture can take you right back to the concert or the place. And the music, along with it, brings that emotion.
Right.
So music and photography they mean emotion to me and capturing essence.
Yeah. What's inspired you to get into the photography? Can you remember?
A few things, to be honest. First of all, I lived in the countryside and there was not a great deal to do. So when I had a camera, I would go for a wee walk and take the camera with me, take a few snapshots, but it wasn't for me. Taking pictures of hills and trees and stuff like that, nah, it's not really my thing. So again, living in the countryside, I would get magazines delivered. I'd get the Sounds, the NME, magazines like that. And as soon as I started to see these explosive pictures, and I could remember being at gigs, and I said to myself, I don't remember that. I just remember the moment of the gig, and then it was forgotten about. So I wanted something that I could hold in my hand and just say, I was there. And it wasn't until photographers that could do that kind of inspired me, to take those pictures.
Yeah. We'll just get into your 5 selected images. I've asked you to select 5 images that hold stories behind them. I'm sure it's been pretty hard. I'd also asked you to select a number of other images that obviously we're showing through in the slideshow, really just to get a feel of your style and your artwork, as I call it, in photography. You mentioned you do other photography. What is that again?
My main other form of photography is motocross.
Right.
Again, growing up with my grandparents, I was probably 5 years old, 1969, off to scrambles in near Forfar in a field, these bikes going round and round in circles. And then once I was old enough to get to motocross meetings myself, sort of 15, 16 years old, I'd go to local tracks, take my little camera again, and just take snaps really until I got a better camera. And I'd say probably in the last 6-8 years I got a little bit more serious with it, bought better gear. My first serious lens that I bought for photography was probably a Canon 100-400 because I read somewhere that was the sports lens. However, I very quickly realised it wasn't, and the 70-200 was the lens for it. So motocross is pretty much there with music, to be honest.
Well, that was the next kind of, going on to the kind of question, that's the process I'm trying to capture here, having the both styles of photography, and then having all that gear, specifically you use a Canon and what kind of lenses that you're using, and it's all quite active as well, and then obviously doing portraitures with the motocross guys and obviously with the band members. But what would you say would be the one that, it's probably a hard question, would be the one that you enjoy the most?
It's swings and roundabouts, to be brutally honest. When I'm at a gig, this is where I live and breathe. When I'm at a motocross track, this is...
Just having a camera in your hand and just taking a photograph?
Well, it's not so much the camera. The camera is just a tool. It's about capturing the explosive action, the dynamic. The camera is essential because you can't imprint something in your brain and then pass it on to someone else. So the camera is a necessary evil, to be brutally honest, because as you probably know, when you have something in your hands, you're not actually paying attention to what's going on. It's the same when you go to a concert. You're there for the concert, but you've got the camera in your hand. So for those first 3 songs, I don't even remember what the band's played.
I can be like that.
So focused.
I think we're all bad for looking at each other in the pit and saying, is that the 3rd song? because sometimes I'm in the zone, especially if it's a band I really enjoy, and I'll just get lost. I've lost track of time. I'm probably enjoying it that much as well.
Yeah.
Is there any specific lens that you use the most?
Well, I think probably everybody's go-to lens is a 2470 f2.8. That's if you could only put one lens in your bag, that would be it. You know, it does everything pretty much. I would have said a 7200 would have been my next choice. However, the nature of the gigs that I go to are very tight, packed venues, so I'd be lost without a 1530 nowadays. I don't have any fisheye lenses, and they're a bit of a niche. But no, I find more and more as I get more access, better access with bands, the 1530 is at least almost on par with the 2470. I almost can't go to a gig without it now.
When you're getting prepared to go to either the concert gigs or the motocross, do you have any kind of plan or strategy or anything that you need to get ready, or is it just you go there, you know your camera that well, you know what you do, and you just go for it?
I would say yes, I know my gear. What I don't know is the environment. So if it's motocross, is it sunny? Is it raining? What kind of access am I going to get? So I might Google the track. I might go on YouTube, see if there's any GoPro videos. I'll check out the layout of the land. And when it comes to gigs, again, venues. If it's a venue I know, it's a no-brainer. I know where I'll be able to stash my gear, or what's the best aspect for the shots, who the promoters are, who the tour managers are, if you know the band. You kind of know before you get there. As far as the gear's concerned, I kind of know my gear inside out. So as long as I've packed my bag, the batteries are all charged.
You forget things as well. I certainly do anyway, because I've forgotten things to do.
Well, the type of bag that I have has a place for everything, and if the bag's not absolutely rammed, I know there's something missing.
So you've got a section in that bag missing, you know that item's gone somewhere. You also do great videos. You've got a lot of video work there. Do you find that's difficult to do as well as the photography on the night, or do you just go to a gig and just say, right, it's just video tonight, or is it photographs, or you do a mixture of both? I
take everything, expecting to get everything. I've got a Panasonic VF1 in the corner there with the Rode microphone. If I have the luxury of a balcony and I've got a tripod with me, I can set that up. It's got a 3.5 hour battery. I can shoot the whole gig. Again, these are pretty much for personal use, unless the band specifically say, can we use this footage? And I would back it up with a couple of these Panasonic DC DMC LX15s. I'll put stage left and stage right, and I might do a bit of roving photography at the front with a GoPro 7.
All right,
or maybe one of the small Panasonics. I just shoot in 1080 because, to be honest, who views 4K anyway? 1080 is fine, you know, to be honest. So, you never know what you're going to get to when you get to a gig, but because I'm carrying everything, I get there with 20 minutes to spare, just check out the lie of land, see where I can put things. Obviously, there's a lot of trust here. Are people going to pinch the camera? Well, you just never know. But you know, you do what you can. And again, it's about the artist. It's not about me. I'm trying to capture a gig for them. And like I say, it's a lot of smaller bands that I work with. And I'm trying to get content for them to use. And that's why I'll put it up on YouTube. They can use it for promotion for themselves, to gain support slots on maybe bigger touring bands, etc. So I'm helping bands build up their profiles.
What would you prefer? Is it live concerts or festivals or events or like intimate shows?
For me, a festival is a time to like kind of chill out a bit, and you know, with friends, etc. I'm not really. I couldn't see myself shooting a festival. Yes, I have been to punk festivals, which are kind of different.
Is that Rebellion?
Yeah, I've been to Rebellion. I've been to Nice and Sleazy. There's Punktoberfest in Dundee. There's a few smaller ones in Glasgow, and for me, they're fine because you get 2-3 minutes between each band, and then it's action again. But for me, the ultimate gig is chaotic. I love mosh pits. I love energetic bands. I love bringing order to the chaos using the camera.
Let's crack on with the 5 images. The first one that you selected.
This first image is of a guitarist in a hardcore metal band from Dundee called Blackwater. It's James Landau, and it's in a very small venue in Dundee called Beat Generator. It's extremely dark at the best of times, and there were 4 people in front of him, and he just turned round, bent down, and he was having a moment in front of his speaker cabinet with the guitar. And it was just the fact that the orange cabinet on top of the speaker there, you know, the orange amp, and the red in his shirt, and just that streak of light, the band being called Black Blood, and I just thought to myself, do you know what, I did use Lightroom a little bit just to darken out the edges of the picture, but more and more in my photography I'm trying to capture essence, and it's just a mood for the picture. Like I say, it's probably not the best picture I've ever taken, but it's certainly I try and find a picture for a musician during a performance where it's almost like time has stood still and that musician is just in a moment himself. Even though there's chaos and the crowd's cheering, I like to find that little piece of solemnity where a musician's just having a moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's also what the eye is seeing as well. A lot of people take pictures and they might go and edit it and think, oh, the shadows are really dark, or it's not bright enough here, or it's too light here. When you go to edit it, you can go a little bit to extreme. Whereas if you capture that image straight away and you're highlighting what it's like on stage, and the colours, I like the colours, and I like how the beam of light's coming down. Because I tend to follow line. I go from lines. I mean, obviously the composition type of things that we talk about, but I go for lines when I'm looking at the stage. But I do like for things like that, like the colours and a moment. Whereabouts was that again?
It's in Dundee, in Beat Generator.
Beat Generator. Okay. What's the venue like normally? Is it as dark and like that, moody, or is
it's extremely dark.
Right, so it's quite a hard
nothing below 4K ISO. Nothing. They do have modern LED lights, but it's in the centre of town. It's behind Fat Sam's. If you ever were at Fat Sam's in Dundee, it's above a bar as well. So you do have to go upstairs. There's virtually no windows. It's a completely blacked out club. It's got a low roof. And
what gear did you use to take that?
That was just no flash, just using the Canon 5D Mark IV.
Right, what lens was it?
It would have been a 24-70.
Right, okay. Yeah.
And it's probably, settings wise, f2.8, maybe 250, 12.8 ISO, 12.800
right,
ISO.
Yeah. As I think that's where we worry about noise, and I quite like noise in images. I think if you get the shot and it's reasonably sharp, it's like I showed you a shot the other night there through, remember chatting Messenger with one of the professional lads. But I think when I got in the pit, I wasn't organised, and I was really just testing what exposure and light and what I'd got. And I
mean, to be brutally honest, when you get to the level of having a Nikon 810, 850 or a Canon 5D Mark IV, you're not 12-800 ISO doesn't concern you, especially with Lightroom. There's certain tricks you can use in Lightroom. Luminescence for one. I usually hit that at 38, and it just smooths out. You need to be careful. A little bit of clarity, a little bit of luminescence and luminance, and it just takes the noise away.
Yeah. Is that all this image, or did you want to mention?
No, that's pretty much it. It was just catching the moment. Just the guy's in his own world. As you know, guitarists often point.
It's funny you should say that. I was chatting to Ronnie in his interview the other day there, and I happened to show him your 5 images, and the first image he went, "Whoa," was that one.
Yeah.
It came out, it stood out, and that was his reaction straight away. It is an absolutely belter of a.
Like I say, we've all taken hundreds of thousands of images. This image is of a band called Department S. They were on a go, early 80s. and the image is of Eddie Roxy, the singer, who was an original keyboard player with him, but he sings now, and the guitarist is Phil Thomson. The alluring thing for this for me was Phil Thomson is playing the same guitar as I've got here, and he plays the same amp. So a bit of a geek thing there, but no, we share similar gear. But what I love about this image is, if you ever saw Department S, Eddie Roxy, the singer, is just the complete Mr. Cool. He never gets excited, just stands at the front of the stage, hardly flinches a muscle. And Phil Thomson is the exact opposite. He bounces about, jumps around, he's all over the place, and he loves jumping up on the drum riser and launching himself off. So of course, if you're in a pit and if someone's jumping around, you've got to fight with microphone stands, leads, monitors, and I just managed to catch him at the height of his jump there. Like I say, it's maybe not the best picture I've got, but
it's a good. It's quite tack sharp as well, and then obviously you've got all that motion and jumping. And if you know your shutter speed up high enough,
it's not just that. It's obviously the depth of field. If you shoot a lot in f2.8 to.
Well, that's the other thing.
Yeah. So there, it probably was f2.8, but I've managed to sort of capture it.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as you said Department S, all I'm thinking about is their song.
Is
Vic there? It's the first thing that came to my head.
Yeah.
It's weird. But I've never actually seen that they were still active.
They reformed in 2015.
2015.
The bass player, Pete R. Jones, was ex-Pill.
Right.
And Alan Galaxy is the drummer. He's a promoter in London, does a lot of bands.
The shot itself looks quite tight as well. The stage, whereabouts was that shot?
That is in a venue in Morecambe, near Blackpool, and it's probably one of the best festivals you could ever go to. It's called Nice and Sleazy. It's in May, and it has some fantastic bands that play at it, and it's run by this school of rock. They take autistic kids and they get them working with audio equipment, running gigs, so it's got a real charity feel about it. So it's a family affair. There's kids running around the hall, so it's like 5 years old to 70 years old. I mean, we also have Charlie Harper there from the UK Subs, who we'll see a picture of a bit later. So he's nearly 75. So it's the most relaxed festival you'll ever be at.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm mostly known for taking a lot of pictures of old bands back in the day as well, and I enjoy that because that's what I grew up with. I grew up with bands like Department S, and UK Subs, etc. I mean, was that pit? What was the pit like? I mean, you look from that angle and that picture. You look quite close, and it's on level. It was.
Yeah, it was a high stage. The stage was throat height, and there was the usual metal barrier. It was a good metre and a half. And to be honest, I was the only photographer there.
It's always good when that happens.
There was. It's run in a kind of working man's hall, and there's a camera club who actually meet there. It's called the Trimple Camera Club. So there were people there from the camera club, but I think there were possibly there's one or two did get into the pit, but not a great deal. So I pretty much had the run of the place, and it was one of these shoots where it wasn't 3 shots and out. My kind of gig, where you're not constricted by the normal 3 songs, no flash.
Well, it's ideal because not every band are active at the beginning. Some are, and it's just nice when you know you can shoot, when you just watch a full set and all of a sudden a moment happens.
But obviously there's people there to enjoy the gig as well, so you have to be respectful of them and not stand up. I'm always crouching down.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Because I found I was shooting in the garage the other night there, and it's quite a low stage. They're virtually on level with them, and I'm always, when I'm in a pit, I'm aware of what's behind me.
Yes.
as well.
Definitely.
Because I've had a few pints poured down me as well.
Yeah. And disappointingly, I was at a gig 2 weeks ago in Glasgow,
Right.
and there was a photographer, and he just walked up and down for the 3 songs, stood right up in front of the crowd. He was 6'4", very large guy.
These guys are there to pay. They're paid to watch it, and it's one of the things that I'm aware of when I'm in the pit. And I think that's where the 3-song rule is a good thing.
Yes, definitely.
Certainly, if you've been a musician, you'll understand that as well. But because I think if they had just lightened the rules slightly, and I know some people go for the 3rd song and they go out into the crowd and shoot from the crowd, because I think a game of live shoots and we can all take a shot like that. Not as technically and good as that one, however, but we can take shots close up.
Yeah.
We want to capture the full atmosphere and the crowd in there as well, and I like to do that. I like to shoot through heads and through gaps.
I've got a great number of shots using the small Panasonic, so I've got some here to show you.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, that's a great shot, and again, it's showing the emotion. It's showing a little. I love jump shots. I think it's one of the harder things to do, and that you just never know if you've got the shot. Do you? You go back and then you go through your images and you go, wow, I've actually caught the jumping shot.
Yeah.
So that's great. So is there anything else you want to?
No, that's pretty much it. I do shoot a lot in black and white, so when I get a colour shot, it's quite rare.
Yeah, I mean, I like colour. I like black and white, but I try to shoot always in colour. It's got a style to it.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you've mentioned one word there, style. Find it and embrace it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
just
don't pigeonhole yourself. I do find myself capturing similar shots of guitarists. You know, obviously I like guitars and stuff.
Yeah.
And I tend to get my signature guitar shot.
Yeah.
So I could probably show you 100 shots of 100 different people as one picture. So, you know, you need to kind of watch a little bit. But
that's great. So let's go on to your next one. Black and white.
Yeah, now this next shot was a band I'd never even heard of before. They played. They were actually supporting Killing Joke at the Glasgow Barrowlands.
Right.
And what I found with this picture was just how they made it their space. They owned it, and I just love the chaos of the spilt drinks, the cables. He's sitting in the floor. The drummer looks like he's completely out of it. But the guitarist is just like, what's going on? And the singer's just in a world of his own. It was a picture I never thought I would get. I was there to shoot Killing Joke. I didn't know who Blackwaters were. I actually met the singer just after they came off the stage and had a good chat with them. And they'd got the tour because he knew the bass player Youth. And I just thought, do you know what? It's a bunch of young guys owning their space, the Glasgow Barrowlands, which could have been very daunting. They could have just stood there like the Beatles on stage and just stiff, not moving. But I
think it's shown them how much they enjoy the music, performing. It might well be a song that they've wrote that means a lot to them as well, and it's shown the emotion in the words as well. And they're entertaining, and that's what they want to do. And if they're the support band, they know they have to get the crowd up, get their attention, because the crowd are mainly there for the main act as well, aren't they? Yeah. You will have some in the crowd for likes of that band as well. He's obviously on the deck there, and he's down with the mic stand. I take it a lot of the support acts, they tend to put all their kit in front of the main acts as well. And I know the Barrowlands and the stage, it's quite a big stage. Yeah. It looks as if it's quite tight there as well.
Yeah, I mean, what we've got here is we've also got, they were the first support. We've got Turbo Wolf, that's their kit there. And then there's obviously Paul Ferguson from Killing Joke's kit at the back there. So there's three loads.
That's the first thing I noticed was standing out was the 3 drum kits. It was like, it's amazing how, well, I know some would probably use the same drum but maybe change the cymbals, or maybe try and one drum, maybe the bass drum just for the title, and just sat it there. And
Yeah.
But
And another reason I wanted to show this picture was, for some bizarre reason, when I shot this gig, somehow my camera was on JPEG.
all right.
And it was a bit like when I went to process the pictures and I saw a JPEG, my heart was in my mouth. I just thought, oh, these pictures are going to be not so good.
Yeah.
However, like
It's
I say,
amazing now the technology that you can actually edit JPEGs now.
Yes.
As much as you can with RAW.
yeah,
Not to the same extent, but I have done that myself, and I've thought for space as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if just getting on to that point, if I'm in a pit and I know that I'm running out of space, I'll change it to JPEG.
yes. I mean, if
So
you've
that
got
I
the
can get more
skills
shots
and
in.
if you're confident with your exposures,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with JPEG.
Yeah.
Um,
Any reason why you went? Was that the reason why you went black and white? You couldn't really edit it, or did
No,
it work better for you because it looked better black and white?
It just, the guy was wearing black, it was dimly lit. There was nothing to pop if I'd used, so it is a black and white shot.
Yeah, you
I
can
like to
always
say-
tell when it's a black and white shot, can't you?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, my default is black and white. It's only if it's good enough, it'll be colour.
Colour, right? Okay. It's just that there's another photographer, Jazz Meadows. If you follow his work,
No.
he shoots predominantly black and white, but he will then, if it works in colour, it will.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, to be brutally honest, it's where I came from. It's the broadsheet music papers, enemies, sounds, etc.
Well, that's the
Those
thing,
were the first
yeah.
images I saw.
Yeah, I remember Melody Maker, and I used to get Record Mirror.
Yeah.
And that was the images they would do, because back in the day with the film,
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to get the dark nightclubs and with the colour lights, and you could imagine how hard it would be processing that film.
Yeah.
That's my feeling on it. But it's a cracking picture, and again, it's you're drawn into him, the main singer, as well as what's going on in the background. And like I said, I did notice all the drum kit. Considering what the Barrowland stage is, it's quite big. They can put a lot of set on there, and it's quite an iconic place and venue as well.
Yeah. I mean, some pictures draw you to the centre, but what I found myself doing is, yes, you're drawn to him, but then you start circling around the picture. You start looking at the floor, and then you look at the drummer, then you see this guy over on the side. So it's one of those pictures, you look at it, and then you look at it again, and you see something slightly different. I mean, like I say, it wasn't a picture I expected to be showing you as the top 5, but for the sake of causing some discussions, I thought it was quite good.
What can you tell me about this one?
This was another image from the Nice and Sleazy gig last year, and what drew me to this was I was at the side of stage, and like I say, like I said before, it was quite a high stage, and this band came on quite late in the evening, and it is a punk festival, and when this kind of rockabilly band came on, Mad Jack and the Hatters, the actual size of that double bass, it's taller than the girl playing it. So the fact that she was wrestling this around the stage was just incredible. A bit of the old Stray Cats. I've never really seen a live band with this, and I thought, well, how can I capture something that shows a little bit of motion, because obviously it's a great big double bass. She's not going to be throwing this around. So when I slipped round to the side of the stage, and the fact that she just kind of crouched down while she was playing it, and I just kind of hit the shot. I got quite a few of her from the front as well, but that kind of drew me to it, with the lead kind of leading into the double bass, and the fact that she was bent down and it's tipped back. So although it's a still image, it kind of captures some kind of motion there. You can see that she's cradling it like a great big baby as well.
But it's a big instrument.
Yeah.
Without making it sound.
I mean, it's a huge. The fact that it was white as well, and she was wearing black and white with the white cowboy hat on. It kind of jumped out at you.
Yeah. What gear were you using in that one?
It'll be the Canon 5D 2470.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And again, it's the angle of the bass.
Yeah.
Cuts from corner to corner.
Uh-huh.
So just the way our brains work, it's it's a comfortable shot to look at because it has order. You know what I mean? If it was a little bit more upright or a little bit more laid down, it wouldn't work so well. The fact that it's at 45 degrees.
Because it's a kind of obviously you're shooting landscape, but you'd have to go in portrait mode if you did it more upright. But then I don't know if it would work that way because everybody kind of stands with those big.
Yes.
I can never get the word out. Big
double bass, yeah.
Double bass, and they stand upright. There's another one that sticks out with Skinny Lister. It's a shot at the Wickerman, and he was doing the same. But this guy had a lot of tattoos in his arms, and as I say, you don't see many of that on stage.
Yeah. And actually, what I liked about it, you actually don't see her face.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
So it leaves you wondering.
Yeah.
What does she look like?
Yeah. What she look like? Yeah.
And you want to go and find out.
An emotion in her face that she's getting right into the music.
I mean, I do have obviously images from that same gig, and she just beams the whole gig.
What kind of music is it?
It's that rockabilly.
Rockabilly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the rockabilly music. I've got a friend. They're called the Peas. They used to be called the Black Eyed Peas, but they had the Black Eyed Peas way before the Black Eyed Peas started in America. So they dropped willingly. They're a Maybole band, they're a rockabilly band. So they're good friends of mine. I've photographed them a few times. And that's the only kind of rockabilly band that I've photographed other than Slim Jim from the Stray Cats. I know the Stray Cats have reformed and they'll be touring soon, so we want to capture. But no, it's great, and I think the fact that it's got that kind of pinkiness to it for
it kind of softens it a little bit.
Softens it a little. Yep. But yeah, it's a good shot. Who's the other lad in the background?
That's Matt Jack.
Matt Jack, right? Yeah, I need to check them out.
Yeah, no, that was like I say, you're at a punk festival, and I wasn't expecting to see a little bit of the rockabilly element. Rockabilly. Yeah,
I think rockabilly, rock and roll from the 50s and 60s, is kind of moulded into. That's where punk rock kind of I think came from, and then a little bit of metal getting pulled in there as well. So there's a mixture of all genres of music in with punk. Although punk's its own. Again, I'm an 80s man, so I get criticised for that. I like all the pop and electronic music. Howard Jones, been one, big fan of him. But yeah, that's great. Any more?
No, that's pretty much it. It was actually one of the favourite shots from my wife.
All right.
When we were at about 20, that made the final cut, and it was a standout one for my wife. So
that's
I thought,
great,
throw one.
It's always helpful because I think in my own eye, it's difficult to choose.
Yes.
What we can think is the best, or as I said, it's all about a story that you can talk about that technically that image, or anything behind it that might be interesting, how it was captured and any other story that it leads to it. Great. We'll go to the next one. Okay.
This next image is Colin, the lead singer from GBH.
All right, yeah,
and that's Jock in the background. And it's taken in Glasgow in Ivory Blacks. Again, extremely dark venue.
Yeah, it's a dark venue. Sure.
But the fact that I did kind of catch it pretty sharp and used my favourite medium, black and white. But what makes it for me is his leather jacket looks like it's part of him. Yeah. It's his skin and his hair. You can see all the individual strands of his hair. And if nothing else, it's just the sheer passion in his voice. You know, you can almost hear him screaming down that microphone. And the way he's kind of strangling the microphone with both his hands. You know, you can see the tension on his thumb, and it's one of my favourite images that I've ever taken. You know, if you've ever spent any time with them, they're the most unassuming guys. They're so laid back, but put them on a stage. It's not that they jump around so much. I mean, Colin does jump around a fair bit, but it's just the energy that they can draw upon, and there's none of us getting any younger, but they're probably nearer 60 than 50, that's for sure. But it's just the fact that there's so much energy and passion still left, and the fact that they've been going since the early 80s.
Yeah, I think you've captured that in that image, and how much it still means to them as well. It's got a lot of clarity in it as well. I noticed it's quite a sharp and clarity. Was there any decision on that when you were like editing it, or?
Yes. Yeah.
Just to bring that out.
I think I tried to
more edge.
Yes, I tried to bring the edge, but without going too far. I think I just tried to get that balance, just to try and make him pop.
Yeah, it does. It works, especially with punk bands. I think, and especially males. If you go for the male rather than the female, it works for that
definitely
process.
You can use clarity on a man's face; it enhances it. But
Yeah.
when you use it on a female's face, it's not so good.
No, and I think that's where we've got to be careful, because there is a lot of girls who are in the punk scene and the metal scene who want that as well.
Yes. Yeah.
But again, it's looking at that image and making that decision. Does it work? And then when you're sitting, possibly editing a picture, but not everybody is that technical, good at capturing it in the camera without having to edit it. But then again, editing can be fun, and it's a separate thing from photography as well, because you're creating bit of artwork. And that, looking at that image, it does look like an artwork. It's something that it could be almost like a big giant poster on a wall. And it's almost as if it's 3D.
Yes.
I look at it and I feel as if he's coming out of the screen.
And that's obviously the depth of field, obviously the f2.8, that's where you get the guitarist in the background kind of blending in.
It's a great shot.
But again, you're only capturing the essence of what was happening.
Is GBH, are they still touring?
Yes, they still actively tour. They're one of these bands that they don't do anything else.
Right.
This is their life, and that's what I find so good about a lot of punk music. It's not just let's tour, and then we'll sit around do nothing. A lot of the bands, probably like the UK subs, they tour for life. They'll do 200 gigs a year. That's how they live.
Is it all still original members?
No, there's obviously time moves on. People pass away, etc. But no, there's two mainstays there.
Right. Okay. When I went to do the professionals, and I have shot punk bands before, and active bands like metal bands, etc., and pop bands who are active just the same. But it was just interesting. I think you get more activity. They just seem to be more photogenic. Yeah. Something worth photographing. It's something about it. It's the colours, and it's the setup. It's the clothing, the hair, earrings, piercings, and all that kind of stuff. It's just for me. It's got a better something to photograph. It's like it's behind the scenes. And I did it with a band called Preacher, and they're kind of almost like Pink Floyd. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but there's the O2 iconic place that's getting demolished. That's where it was filmed. Yeah. And there's actual DVDs out with that and film on YouTube. You can check them out, and you'll actually see me in the pit. But I was on behind stage. I was behind, and I captured every moment. And I think that's quite good as well when you're in with these bands. Yeah. And it's dark and black and white and colour, and is it something that you've thought about yourself, like getting these images and putting them in books? And
yeah, I used to work in PA. I've always obviously either played in bands or done gigs. My first ever gig that I did was probably in 1979. I bought a couple of 4x12 cabinets similar to this, a couple of heads, local disco. We put on discos, we put on bands from the age of 15, 16. And then latterly, in the late 80s, early 90s, I worked with sound control. I was a sound engineer, monitor engineer. I used to do tours with bands. I was working in the oil industry and doing some touring with bands, etc. Mostly at weekends and some midweek gigs. So when you say Oasis, I've engineered for Oasis. I've engineered for Prodigy, Alex Harvey Band, obviously without the main man, but Roachford. A lot of bands back in those days. I know how everything works on stage, where all the artists go, what they do, how they warm up. So I've always been around it. And I'd never really, all those years I was doing it, I never had a camera. And I kind of probably missed
I think
an opportunity there for
I think
sure.
the idea that you've got smaller cameras and you put them in your kit bag, and if you've got a ticket and you're at these venues, at least you've got something to capture that. It's something that I would probably consider.
I mean, at home I do have a huge library of books, mostly punk. But I've got Penny Smith, Bob Gruen, you know, these are the photographers that I admired at the time. So I must have nearly 100 books.
Yeah.
So again, all the images that I've captured.
And that's why I'm trying to get into the habit of any good acts, like so if you've got the GBH there in that moment, even if you create a flip book or some kind of physical book, because when I had that book yesterday and I was going through it, it felt so tactile.
Yeah.
It was much better than looking at it on the screen.
Yeah.
The screens look great, don't get me wrong, but we talk about how many images we've took over the years, and we put it in a hard drive and we forget about them unless we put them in a slideshow. That slideshow lasts for seconds, and you don't get to really look at the image, and looking at that image, then it's still up there, and looking at it, you're drawn into it more, and you see things that you didn't see before.
Yeah. I watched a podcast last week, probably that you'd put me on to, you know, the HT Barp broadcasts.
Yeah.
And it was a lad who was saying that how he got work was, everybody's got stuff online, but the fact that he has a book and he hands it over Japanese style to his client. So he hands it over with 2 hands to his client. And then when you've imparted that book, then the client feels kind of special. And as they're flicking through it, you know, the images kind of pop out more than just flicking through a screen. Yeah. So he feels that it was important to have that physical connection with his client.
That's
so
good,
it's the same, but I kind of struggle sometimes the fact that there are so many punk gigs, there's continually happening, that is anybody really going to want to buy a book to sit around in their coffee table, which I don't really think a great deal of people have these days. But no, you're right, just for posterity, if nothing else.
Yeah, just for a personal thing.
I would like to kind of do it on venues.
Yeah. Okay, so that's your 5 shots. Thanks for sharing those 5 shots. They're
My
really
pleasure.
interesting. Quality work there as well, Raymond. I was quite blown away by your selection and all the other images you've sent me, and I have been admiring your work for some time. What's the future, and what kind of things have you got lined up, project-wise, or any other concerts or gigs that you're going to be looking to shoot? Because you've got quite a lot there.
Yeah, I do have. I do work overseas, so I'm in the UK for a month at a time, and when I'm at home, I do go to quite a few gigs. Part of my projects are October last year. There was a festival in Dundee called Punktoberfest. 26 bands played on a Friday and a Saturday. So apart from taking pictures and video, I recorded all of the bands on a 24-track recorder at the side of the stage in one room, and I also recorded some other bands just in a small stereo recorder. So what I did with that, along with Andy Cochran, who organised the festival, we put out a CD last week, and it's 26 tracks, 1 song from each band, which was Drongos from Europe, Slaughter and the Dogs, Slaughter 2, the Overbites, the Eddies, Buzz Bomb, a whole bunch of local bands as well. And what we did was we raised money for charity.
Wow. Yeah.
So between the entry for the gigs and selling the CDs, we raised £1,000 last weekend. Excellent. At a charity concert that we had on Saturday in Beat Generator. So that project took me 3 months to deliver. The fact that I had all the recordings, I'd recorded every set of every band, so I had to go through all of their set, choose the song that I thought was the best for the CD, and then we got the CD made, covers printed. There was a local artist contributed their work, and we sold it. So we pretty much sold out the 100 copies of the CD that we made. So that was a pretty major plan that's just come to fruition.
Yeah.
Moving forward, I would like to do a kind of live lounge thing starting with local bands, and I'd like to visit them in a space something like this, just in a relaxed atmosphere, have them play a couple of songs. I will record them, I will mix them, and I will take a selection of candid shots, shoot some video, and like I say, it'll be like a live lounge kind of feel. Just put it out on social media. Again, it's for the bands kind of to get their profile heightened, and it gives me more experience on mixing bands, shooting bands in candid atmospheres. So that'll be an ongoing thing that I'll probably just do moving forward. Might take me years to do, but I've got a lot of friends in bands, so I've got plenty bands to draw upon. Some bands in Edinburgh, some bands in Dundee, some bands in Glasgow, and one band in Inverness that I'll visit called The Signal. So that's probably it.
Yeah.
But there's always gigs to go to.
That's the thing. You've mentioned a few band names there, a lot of band names, and I've got to be honest, I don't know them. Are they local bands or are they?
Yeah, I mean, just throw a dart in a map of Scotland and you'll find there's 3 or 4 bands in every town.
Right.
It's the same when Karen did her interview.
Yeah.
I didn't know some of the bands she was talking about, but I could hear the passion in her voice.
Exactly.
So it's the same. We all have friends that play in bands. I just try and do what I can for them. Turn up at a gig, shoot a few pictures, and let them use it on social media.
I think the local bands and the unsigned bands that don't get so much exposure really appreciate it. And especially photographers coming along. Would there be any advice that you would give to anyone that would like to venture into photography or music photography?
Well, I would say it's not all about the pit. It's not all about the big gig. It's not all about yourself. It's about the bands at the end of the day. So what you can do to promote yourself and the band at the same time, it's a win-win situation. If there's a local band and you do some work for them and they get onto a tour, you know, they could maybe take you with them. But for me, it's not about the big gig. It's about maximising your own potential and developing the bands at the same time. Because bands will see through your work. They'll see a progression in themselves. There's a lot of bands that just stand and do nothing. Well, who really wants to go and see a band that just stands still?
No.
So if bands see my pictures and if they get some inspiration from it to say, hey, I might wave my guitar about the next time, then it makes me kind of chuckle a little bit.
Yeah, I think Ronnie's interview touched on that as well. For him, he was the same, and he didn't really like the bigger venues, and he felt he was more at home with the smaller venues and the unsigned musicians. You got closer to them and got to know them more, and they got to know you as well, and you find that you were shooting more, you were getting more exposure yourself, more images, and as I say, it's all great when you shoot the most famous people. It's especially if it's your idols or bands, but that's one a penny. That's just odd occasion, and that's good.
Well, I've never really done the idol thing. I mean, yes, I admire people for what they do. There's a few musicians that I follow. Geordie from Kill and Joke, Jean-Jacques Burnell from the Stranglers. I mean, these are guys that I aspire to in my playing, you know, but I'm a bit of an anti-hero.
Right.
I don't think you should ever really meet your idols because you'll probably be disappointed in the first place.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But what I really hate nowadays is gigs by appointment. The gig is at 7 o'clock, the first band's on at 7:15, the next band's on at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
We're living life to a diary, to a calendar, and I hate it.
Well,
when I used to turn up to small gigs, you never knew when the band was going to be on. There was that apprehension. Is there going to be another song comes over the PA? You know, and I would rather there was a bit more spontaneity about gigs again.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, that happened the professional gigs at the garage at the weekend. I was actually speaking to Stuart on the phone, and as we were speaking, the first song came on, Dead on 7, Deadline, and when I had walked in it, I thought I had plenty of time. But like, and then it was like, before I knew it, I was running, hanging my cameras out the bags, hadn't got my lenses sorted out, and then I was doing that in the pit right in the middle of the first song.
I mean, don't get me wrong, from our point of view, that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah,
If you want to get to the gig and you know it starts at 8:30 and you know it's 8:10, you've still
Yeah.
got to find a parking spot, you're not panicking. You know you've got 20 minutes. But from a gig goer point of view, I think we've lost a lot of the spontaneity from it.
So when you're finished with your photographs for the night and you're getting yourself home and you're thinking about how you're going to get the images edited and uploaded, etc. Do you have any kind of processing that you use?
I usually want to check that I've got the material, I've got the media. Last weekend I did a 4-camera shoot. I filled 4 or 5, maybe 8 32, 64 gig cards. They were all absolutely crammed, so I didn't do anything that night. But typically if I get in from a gig, I'll just have a quick check just to see that the media is there, that it's okay. I'll do some audio recordings. I'll just have a quick check before I go to bed. But the next day, it's all about getting the media off the cards and onto a hard drive. Everything I transfer, I back up onto hard drives. I have lost material in the past, which was pretty gutting.
I've had that experience.
Yeah, but
SD
no,
card.
I go through the process. I file everything as I take the images off. So if I've just shot 13 bands, I take the 50 pictures and I put them in a folder. I take the video, I put it in a folder. I take the audio, I put it in a folder. So that band, the Eddies, I have all of their pictures, their video, their audio. It's all sitting ready to be processed. Then, in fairness to the bands, as the set times of the bands were, I pretty much processed the bands as they came during the set. Because I do have friends that are keen to see the work, you know, and they'll keep checking. Oh yeah, that's the first band up.
Yeah.
I was 5th on the bill, so it's going to be another couple hours. You know, it's just.
But that's a nice and it's exciting for most photographers or bands. They might not put an announcement out there, and they keep people waiting, and that's the excitement. Do you do any kind of culling process? Do you get them down to, say you took it 300 or 400 shots that we all do, and then get it down to your 50?
3-4 years ago, I was just happy that I got 50 pictures.
Right.
That were great, and I would put up the 50 pictures because I was chuffed I got 50 pictures. Nowadays, I might take. I took 1,167 pictures at a gig the other night, and it was only 2 bands.
Right.
And I culled them down to 9 images and 11 images.
Wow.
So
I find that one of the difficult things to do. I need to get into a better workflow. I don't know if you do this, but I keep all the original raw files.
Everything.
Even the ones that I've maybe have killed and deleted, I still keep the original.
Yeah.
But I'll only edit the ones that I think are worthy. It may get them down to maybe 100 out of.
Yeah. As time goes on, I'm
pictures.
being more and more ruthless. And to be honest, who wants to surf through 50 pictures of any band? Nobody's interested.
Yeah.
Nobody has time to look at 10. You know. So
in that process, is it the same when you do your motocross photography? Is that the same process?
It's slightly different for motocross because you've got people of different abilities. You might go to a practice track where there's 50 riders, and there might be 5 absolutely top riders, and they're the ones that will be flying through the air, bursting through the sand. They'll be fantastic shots, but then there's the average Joe just getting around the track. So I like to try and represent everybody when I go to the practice tracks. So there's at least 2 or 3 shots for everyone. So I might post anywhere between 150 and 750 images from a day's racing or a day's practice, just so people get to see themselves.
I mean, I watched a video of a guy who was using the same flash unit I've got, the CIT 600. And I don't know if I sent you the video of him photographing the motocross using set up with flashes.
Right.
Do you use flash at all?
No, I would never use flash at motocross simply because it's distracting, and it just takes a millisecond. A twist of that throttle, and you know. No,
because I was just thinking maybe he just did that just to show
it would be
flash or a special promotional.
It would
shoot.
be a specially promoted shot. You'd never typically use flash at a motocross.
I'd just like to thank you for being part of this project, Raymond. Where can we find you online?
I have two names. I'm not a big user of my own name. I've never really. It's not about me, so I don't use my name when I take pictures. My punk photography is Punk 4RT Raymond Thomson.
Yeah,
so the 4 is like an A. So intrinsically it's punk art, but it's Punk 4RT, and at the end of the day it's punk for me.
Right. Okay.
So that's the meaning behind it, Punk 4RT. And the other one I have is Mad Max Media.
Right. Okay.
That's what I put my motocross in. And specifically, I didn't want to bore musical people with my motocross and vice versa. So I've kept it sort of clean. I've got an Instagram page for Mad Max Media, Instagram page for Punk 4RT, but to be brutally honest, something I never really use. So Punk 4RT on Facebook and YouTube. And I've got a website as well, punk4rt.co.uk.
Okay. Yeah, I'll put all those links up there and I'll put them in the comments below as well.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. And you really enjoyed this interview. I really enjoyed looking at your 5 selected images, and obviously I'll be putting a lot of your images up right through the whole process of this interview, and I hope everybody enjoys your images as much as I do.
Yeah.
Again, you've came a long way. You've came all the way down from Dundee.
Am I right?
Yeah. So I really thank you for that. We're in air at the moment, so it's quite. You've got a long journey back up the road.
But what I would say to people, there's no rules.
No.
There's no rules in photography. There's no rules in life.
Yeah.
So do what you want.
So how have you found the interview? I would like to get that little taste.
I think it's great that I could give somebody just a little bit of insight into what I do. I don't think I'm doing it. I couldn't do it any other way. It's just what I do. But it's great for me to meet guys like yourself and Stuart, and I get to see how other people do it, because that's how we live life.
I'm trying to deliver. Is there any photographers that you would suggest to me that I should look at, or anybody else should look at, or I might want to look at interviewing?
I am sort of a little bit old school. Mick Rock was one of the biggest photographers I ever looked at when he shot Bowie, Iggy Pop, when he started getting into the Ramones kind of thing, Lou Reed, etc. Kevin Cumming, when I saw his work with Joy Division, the fact that he could take a band and shoot them in a warehouse or on a bridge, you could see how bleak it was. I could almost understand where Joy Division got their music from. So they're a couple of photographers, but it's like everything else. I just like a snippet of everybody.
Yeah.
That one picture that Penny Smith took with Simonon smashing the bass in America. To get that, it's not even a great picture.
Yeah, I know.
Technically,
I know the one you're talking about.
Technically, it's rubbish, but what a fantastic shot.
Okay then. Well, thanks again, and hopefully we'll see you in the pit. Keep doing what you're doing, because
you might not see me in the pit. I'll be in the mosh pit.
In the mosh pit. So you've been moshing.